Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to my full Final Fantasy Platinum series. I decided to take on the incredibly daunting task of earning the PlayStation Platinum Trophy in every Final Fantasy game, starting with the mainline games. This is an achievement awarded in most PlayStation games for completing every possible trophy in a games-based launch. In my previous videos, we covered all the single-digit Final Fantasy titles, ending with a grueling run of Final Fantasy IX. But the grueling is only beginning, because next is another big kahuna of a platinum in the form of PlayStation 2's first ever Final Fantasy X. Now 10 is a heavy hitter for a lot of reasons. Many of them a lot of you have played can probably already figure out, even if you haven't looked at the trophy list. Tons of time-consuming minigames, tons of grinding, and worst of all, it's one of the only modern Final Fantasy games on console without any cheats. No speed-ups, no encounter rate adjustments, nothing. Oh, the Steam version gets them, don't get me wrong, but I guess they didn't expect PlayStation players to have F keys, so they just said, nah, they don't get it. Just means we're gonna be here for a while. Before we get started, the sponsor of this video is Magic Spoon. They make high-protein cereal, snack bars, and granola, and we've been working with them for quite some time. It all tastes great, and honestly, it helps me when my snackometer is going off. And yeah, I get a little snacky. I've been eating their products for years now, and I get excited every time a new box pops up. This latest one came packed with some delicious treat bars and some scrumptious granola. I'm always glad to have a high-protein option around, whether it be right after I get back from the gym, or honestly, sometimes I just want to avoid traditional snacks. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, then click the link below to get some today. Build your own custom box of products with tons of available flavors to match your daily needs. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off of your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store, even on Amazon if you prefer. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Now, while Final Fantasy X has a ton of really annoying achievements, it does have some gimmies. There's a lot of story progression ones. There's one for just doing the Besaid Cloister of Trials, not even doing the Destruction Sphere that's in there, but we'll talk about that later. There's the underwater date scene, which is completely unavoidable, like most other things, and there's major boss defeats like Yuna, Seymour, Omnis, and of course the game's final boss, Yojimbo. Also, obtaining all party members is one, and that actually happens fairly early on. Another one that you'll see as you go through the story is earning the Ject Shot. This will happen when you get on the SS Winnow, and you just have to do a quick little mini game where you tilt the stick in a direction and press X repeatedly fast enough. You'll want this anyway for all the Blitz Ball trophies we're going to be doing later, so just save before this mini game, and then if you fail it somehow, then just load and do it again. Backing up, there's even easier ones than that. I mean, there's one for watching the Eternal Calm movie that's available when you first boot up the remaster. You know, when it says, do you want to play Final Fantasy X, 10 Eternal Calm, 10-2, or 10-2 Last Mission? Yeah, just watch Eternal Calm and that will give you a trophy as well, required for the Platinum. Also, speaking of movies, you actually have to buy every movie sphere at Luca Theater. And again, that's just going to be a matter of going there near the end of the game and just buying them all out. I'd also argue some of the more combat-oriented ones are freebies by just automatic nature. For example, there's one that does 9,999 damage in a single hit. Like, to do most of these trophies, you're going to have to hit way higher than that. So I would hope you can manage that, probably at the latest by the Calm Lands. Like, Bahamut should realistically be able to achieve that the first time you use Mega Flare. On top of that, there's another trophy to do 99,999 damage. But again, if you're going for the Platinum, you sure better be doing that much damage per hit, or you are going to have a bad time. There's also a handful of kind of like random-ish trophies, things that you just might not think about and have to do kind of towards the end unless you're being actually proactive. I mean, for example, stealing 200 times with Riku, like she has a ton of great steals, but honestly, you can just be so strong that the need to steal from her is really situational in terms of how you handle your gameplay. If you use mixes or if you try to do it without a whole lot of stats early on. Things like NSG abuse the stealing and would get it done in no time. But in a casual playthrough, it was one of the last ones I did. Also, bribe using 100,000 gil total. That can be in one bribe, or that can be in as many different bribes as you want. If you're worried about losing 100,000 gil, it's not a big deal, but just save scum it. Just save, bribe for 100,000, and then get the trophy and then reload your save. That way you don't have to worry about it. There's also learning all of Kimahri's Overdrive Blue magic. If you struggle with this, don't forget that you can learn almost all of them from the Mount Gagazet boss fight against the other Ronso. You just have to do it over and over again, wait till they use Mighty Guard, do it then, wait till they use White Wind, do it then. And then the last one you can get from either Nemesis or from Omega, so just be sure to use Kimahri one extra time there, and you'll be all set. Now for the ones that aren't really so random, but also aren't that difficult, but will take a bit of concentrated effort. Let's start with the Ject Spheres. When you first get to Macalania Forest and you get towards the end of it, you're going to be fighting the Spheromorph boss. And when you do that, you'll gain access to your first Ject Sphere. There are actually 10 total for a trophy, and they also unlock Orin's Overdrives, which you probably want. Now the moment you obtain the first one, I highly recommend to double back all the way to Besaid Temple to collect another 8 total. While this means an absolutely massive trip where you have no speed up, no way to turn off encounters on the PlayStation version, it allows you to collect 9 out of 10 of them before the game's final act, or until Act 3. Once you are branded as heretics in Act 3, you will only be able to revisit Besaid after defeating Dark Valfer, an endgame super boss. While they're one of the easier ones, you just don't want to miss anything in Besaid before that actually happens. So as much as it's a pain, double all the way back, get 9 of them, follow a guide, it'll tell you where they all are, and just get it out of the way. Another pretty straightforward one is the Aons. Obtaining all of the Aons is its own trophy, and there's even individual trophies for obtaining Anima, Yojimbo, and the Magus Sisters, all of the optional ones. Now, you will want to be, again, very diligent about this, specifically because of Anima. You have to complete all of the Cloister of Trials Destruction Sphere puzzles in order to obtain Anima. Cannot stress how important this is to do on first visits. Again, Besaid will be blocked by Dark Valfer later on, and Macalania will also be blocked by Dark Shiva, so be sure to handle all destruction spheres on those first visits. If you get frustrated figuring it out on your own, follow a guide. Just do not leave without opening that destruction sphere chest. Alright, I'd say from here on, we're looking at things that can be really concerning for a player if they screw it up, or if they just don't want to spend a lot of time. Albed primers. One of the most notorious things in Final Fantasy X is collecting all 26 of the primers. Now there are 2 trophies for this, one for obtaining the first one, which is going to be really easy, and one for obtaining all 26. Now it's worth noting that some are missable not permanently, and some are missable permanently. Early on, there's quite a few around, for example, on the ship, or even talking to Rin and him giving you one. But those ones can actually be found in the Cenubia Desert later. However, when you get to the Cenubia Desert and enter home, there are a bunch of permanently missable ones. Albed primers 19 through 22, which take place in home and Bevel. If you miss any of those, you cannot get them again. So this is 100% a point where you want to save and count them out and double check, triple check, whatever, because you don't want to have to do that again. Hell, I know someone who missed one of them and they just took somebody else's save file and then just pulled the Albed primers out of that one because they were like, there's no way I'm doing it again and I already saved over. Don't have to be that person. Just go and do them, pull the list up, be very diligent, and you should be fine. Then you have Blitz Ball. As many of you know, I'm not a huge fan of Blitz Ball, and you have to play a decent amount. You can get it down to a pretty low number of games, I believe 39, but there's a couple of things that you absolutely need to do. For example, win one Blitz Ball match. I like to win the first match against the Luca Goers because it gives you a Strength Sphere to boot, and early on, one Strength Sphere is actually really OP. Also, you have to win one tournament, which in order to do the major Blitz Ball trophy, you're going to be winning several tournaments, so that won't be an issue either. The big thing that Blitz Ball gates you from doing is obtaining Wakka's Celestial Weapon and his attack reel's limit break. In fact, all of his reel limit breaks, which does have its own trophy. For his base weapon, it's not that bad to get for his Celestial. You get at least third in a tournament, then go to the cafe owner in Luca while in possession of the Celestial Mirror. Then you'll just get it, no big deal. Then, the Jupiter Crest, also super easy. It's in the Aurochs locker room after completing your first match. Just make sure you actually leave Luca and then come back to the locker room and you'll find it. However, the Jupiter Sigil is from playing Blitz Ball. It'll be one of the tournament prizes alongside Wakka's limit breaks, so you need to collect his limit breaks and you need to collect the Jupiter Sigil. I'm not going to go in depth on what the strategies are for Blitz Ball and all this. There's so many resources online. All I can say is that there are a few key members that you're going to want to get as soon as possible, and if you get them, they will make your life way, way easier. However, you do want to do something to reduce the number of games you need to play, because every 10 matches you play, a tournament will spring up. And the tournament prizes are set after you win that 10th match and it spawns. So what you want to do is, after winning 9 games of Blitz Ball, save your game, and then win the 10th game and check the prize for the tournament. Actually, just play 9 games, but realistically, you should try to win every single game. So play 9 games, save, and then play the 10th game, and then the tournament will pop. Check the prize. If it's one of the limit breaks or his sigil, then you should do the tournament and then continue on. And then after 9 more games, after you beat the tournament, then do the same thing again. But if it's not, reload your save, play that 10th game again, and then load the tournament. I know that sounds terrible, but it's better than getting a prize listed that is useless towards completing the trophies, and then having to play 3 games to get rid of the tournament, and then another 10 games in the matches to get another tournament. It's way better to replay 1 than to potentially replay up to 13 matches. So just do that, and hopefully you'll get this done in 40-ish games. Now, while some people are dreading Blitz Ball, I think most people dread the Celestial Weapon grind. I already talked about how to get Wakkas, but we do have 6 other characters that have Celestial Weapons, many of which are locked behind relatively frustrating minigames depending on your individual skill sets. So this category contains so many objectives, you'll have to do most of them for their own standalone trophies anyway, so they're just all wrapped up in the Celestial Weapon section. So since Wakka's done, let's start with an easy one, Yuna. In order to get the Nirvana, you got to capture one of each monster in the Calm Lands, and then the chest for the Nirvana will appear. So once you have the mirror, you just need to open it. Her crest is actually right on the beach when you get to Besaid Island. Just when Wakka's waving at you to come to the shore, just swim to the right instead, and you'll find it. And if you don't get it, then you can always go back and get it later. This one is not locked by Dark Valifer. Her sigil is obtained from defeating Belgemine in the Ramim Temple and all of her Aons. So once you have every Aeon in the game, other than the Magus Sisters, well, actually no, you'd have the Magus Sisters before getting to this point. But once you have all the Aeons, defeat Belgemine and you'll get her sigil. Super easy and something you're going to be doing anyway. However, it is worth mentioning, unrelated to this, under Ramim Temple is the Chocobo challenge of collecting 5 chests and winning the race, which does have its own trophy. There's actually a ton of really great prizes for collecting various numbers of chests, so I would actually recommend winning with 1 chest, 2 chests, 3 chests, 4 chests, and 5 chests to collect all the rewards down there. Fortunately, there's not really a whole lot of deductive skill you need. You actually just need to look up the route online, and then it's a matter of getting used to the kind of janky controls when the camera turns and your Chocobo doesn't really want to listen to the change in direction that you're trying to give it. That ends up being the single most frustrating thing about it, but the routes are 100% consistent once you get used to the controls, and you should get it done in no time. Speaking of Chocobos, Tetus' Celestial Weapon might make you tear your hair out. Not mine, but it might do it to you. First, you got to complete all the basic Chocobo trainings in the Calm Lands. This does have its own trophy, but it unlocks a final race called Catcher Chocobo, where you collect balloons and dodge birds and try to beat the opponent's time. Collecting a balloon reduces your time by 3 seconds, and being hit by a bird adds 3 seconds to your timer. Now, you'll need to just beat the Catcher Chocobo race to move an NPC near a ramp on the northwest side of the Calm Lands, and then with the Celestial Mirror, go down there and you'll get the Khalid Bull. Now, the Sun Crest is one that is a little scary. Most of the crests are just go and collect it, and that's true here too. But much like with a problem with Besaid, there is a Dark Aeon that can get in your way if you don't do this the first time it's available. Right after you defeat Yuna, go to the back of the room that you fought her in and walk down the stairs. The screen will flash and you'll be teleported into the same room, and the chest will appear on the far back, basically where the stairs are again. You must do this as soon as you defeat her. Do not leave her room. Or maybe just do not leave at all. Just don't leave anything. Just get it done during that visit. If you do, Dark Bahamut will spawn inside the room and you will be forced to defeat him in order to obtain the chest. And you don't want to have to do that. Given he's one of the strongest super bosses in the game, you ideally probably want a Khalid Bolg to help defeat him in the first place. So please do not miss the Sun Crest. But the Sigil is usually what gets people to tear their hair out. To get this, you must get a time of 0 minutes and 0 seconds from Catcher Chocobo. This also has its own trophy, mind you, so again, you're gonna have to do this regardless. Usually this requires an average of 13 balloons, which will knock 39 seconds off the timer. This can be achieved by getting 13 balloons and 0 birds, or 14 balloons and 1 bird. I have actually done it with 0 birds and 12 balloons, just going really fast. So if you race well, you can actually do it with less balloons than that. I usually hug the right side of the racetrack and catch any balloons that aren't too far out of the way. Obviously this comes with a bit of RNG because the balloon pattern is semi-random, it's set between a few different patterns. A big thing is trying to get 4 or 5 of them as you go down the initial ramp, because it puts a lot less onus on you collecting balloons and potentially putting yourself at risk throughout the rest of the race. If the other guy gets in front of you during the ramp, don't be too surprised if you don't succeed. It's probably worth just GG, go again kind of deal. But it is still technically doable as long as you race really well and avoid the birds, which again can be frustrating. If you go too far to the left or right, your Chocobo will actually auto turn back to the center of the track, which means you may actually dodge into a bird. If you're too close to the other racer as well, there's a good chance that his birds could become your birds very quickly. I will also say this, if you get 0 seconds the first time you win, that will not count. You need to do it a second time to get the Sigil. So I wouldn't tell you to try super hard the first time, maybe just get to the feel for it. I have almost always gotten 0 seconds on the first race and have had to do a second 0 second race. In some cases, like on one of my YouTube short clips, that was the literal next attempt. However, in some cases, it was not. So yeah, you just maybe don't try so hard the first time and just try to get the 0-0 on a subsequent try. Then you have Lulu, which is another very frustrating one for a lot of people. Her weapon is actually just in Bodge Temple after you get the airship. You just need to dive under and find the chest in there. The Venus Crest is also really easy. It's just in the far plane. Basically, as soon as Seymour leaves Guado Salam, you can go get it. Just re-enter it after leaving the first time and check the left side of the screen all the way into the far plane. The Sigil, on the other hand, is the one I think you were afraid of. You gotta dodge 200 lightning bolts consecutively in the Thunder Plains. It seems bad, but there's so many tricks to getting this done. Now, on the PC version, you can actually turn off encounters whenever you want. And there's tons of spots where the lightning strikes are scripted to strike at a specific pace. Just Google best spot for lightning bolts, learn the pace, and do it for about 20 minutes. It's not that bad, you just have to try to keep a little bit of focus. On the PlayStation, we have no cheats, so you have 2 options. I recommend that you wait until you can get no encounter on anything at all, and then do the same thing that I just mentioned for the PC version. I didn't do this. I actually just found a really nice consistent spot and just did it normally with encounters on, which was one of the, I've never done that before, but I did that for my platinum trophy. I ended up getting a few too many lightning bolts, over 100 more, because I was nervous to stop because I had actually not been counting the entire time. At the very least, if you can get 50 lightning bolts on your first visit to the Thunder Plains, that gives you 3 strength spheres, which will honestly let you roll over most of the rest of the game. Then we move to Orin, who's one of the easier ones, much like Yuna. First, you get the rusty sword in the hidden valley outside of the Cavern of Stolen Faith. Then you take it to Mushroom Rock Road and find the statue of Lord Mihen while in possession of the Celestial Mirror. Bam, you have the base weapon. The Mars Crest is actually just at the very end of the Mihen Old Road. There's a good chance that you ran all the way down there with a Chocobo on your first visit, and if you didn't, just do it again. There is actually a Ject Sphere right in front of it, also for Orin's Overdrive. So if you went back and doubled back for the Ject Spheres, you were right in front of that chest anyway. So there's really no reason not to have it. The Mars Sigil is just for collecting monsters for the arena. You need 10 area or species conquest monsters made or captures combined. So you'll get that automatically. You're going to have to do the monster arena for the platinum anyway. So this is one that just you will get. Now, Kamari's one used to frustrate me, but fortunately the internet has made it a whole lot easier. Read the book in Rin's travel agency detailing the cactars with a Q. Then find 3 lit up cactar stones in the Thunder Plains and pray to them. Then follow the phantom cactars till this old tower on the right side of the screen, and then pray by it with the mirror and you'll get the Spirit Lance. The crest is near the pillars on your path after defeating Seymour Flux. Honestly, just look to the left after you beat Seymour Flux as you're running by and you should see a chest. Just grab it. The Sigil is actually from the butterfly minigame in Macalania. When I was a kid, this actually frustrated me more than both the lightning bolts and the race. I kid you not. I find the depth perception just completely unusable, completely useless, and I'm colorblind to boot. Sometimes I can't even see the butterflies. Like, it's really bad. But there are maps online that tell you the exact running path relative to the mini map that you need to find success. I did that and it took like 2 or 3 tries for me just getting used to the route, and then I was done. So this one shouldn't be bad either. And then there's Riku, who's also a little bit tedious, but honestly still not horrible compared to the lightning bolts or the catcher Chocobo race. To get her weapon, just literally, once you get the airship, search the word God Hand in all caps, and then when you go to the area it unlocks, open the chest with the mirror and you'll get it. Now, her crest is actually just in one of the sand pools in the Sanubia Desert West, just like literally the westmost sand pool in this little like tiny nook that's in the like map. You should find it no problem. And then the Sigil is from doing the Cactar Village minigame. You need to find all 10 Cactars and bring them back. You don't even have to succeed in the minigames. You just have to make sure that you bring them all back. It's a lot of running around, so Encounter None helps a ton with this, but just follow a guide to find every Cactar and collect the Sigil. This one takes a bit, but it is fairly easy. Then we get into the end game. This is where you're going to be doing a ton of grinding in order to boost your stats to beat a ton of super bosses. But trust me, when you see the final achievement I'm going to talk about here, you're going to be doing a ton of grinding anyway. First, there's defeating Nemesis, which requires capturing every enemy in the monster arena, which is a little tedious, but again, it's not that bad, and there's plenty of things online to help you with some of the more frustrating enemies where you can use certain attacks that can bypass like defenses and stuff like that to make the captures simpler. While difficult, Nemesis is more about preparing armor and doing lots of sphere grid leveling. You're going to want to make sure you have tons of strength, evasion, and especially luck, which is by far the worst of the grinds that you're going to have to do. Expect to spend a lot of time just grinding spheres on the other monster bosses to max your base stats. Now, a lot of people also wonder what they should actually do for armor and their stats. While health seems cool, they hit for, whatever, 4,000 a hit, 6,000 a hit, 8,000 a hit. I should probably have like 30,000 health or something, right? Most people who are hardcore about the game would agree that it is better to avoid raising your max health over 9,999. Healing just doesn't scale well enough in this game, so unless you're going to be a mega elixir fiend, it's probably not the best idea. Most people make a piece of armor with Ribbon, Auto Phoenix, Auto Haste, and Auto Protect. And then when someone dies, you just have to make sure you actually have Phoenix downs and just hope for the best. Protect will reduce the damage of most things in the game, and Haste will make sure you get as many actions without having to use a turn on actually using Haste. Ribbon also works on most debuffs in the game, though some of the Dark Aons have debuffs that completely bypass Ribbon, which is incredibly stupid. There are some other good options, but that's the standard. Then there's defeating Penance, which is a whole different ballgame, and really where you need that Auto Phoenix, Auto Haste, Auto Protect, Ribbon gear, and even then, sometimes it just isn't good enough, and you need different pieces. One of Final Fantasy's most annoying super bosses by far. If the body ever gets a turn while both hands are alive, it instantly cutscene kills your entire team with the same attack that Giga Graviton that Sin uses if you don't kill him fast enough. The normal fight requires careful balancing of killing the hands in an alternating fashion while carefully spending turns between them to kill the body over time. And before you can even fight Penance, you have to defeat every Dark Aeon. Most are very formidable, especially Bahamut, Yojimbo, and Anima, who can win no matter how much you prep if you don't play it well. Dark Yojimbo is actually a boss that I want to mention, because you can farm him as long as you don't defeat him 5 times in a row before exiting the Cavern of Stolen Faith. His gear can innately come with Ribbon plus 3 empty slots. It's rare, but it's actually less time consuming to do this than to farm the materials to make Ribbon and put it on an empty 4-slot Tetra piece. So it actually saves a lot of time if you can get a consistent strategy for killing him. And speaking of consistent strategies, I have one serious recommendation for your sanity. I fought all the Dark Aeons fairly, but when it came to Penance, I just know how annoying that fight is. You're talking 20 to 30 minutes of just this constant back and forth of quick attacking hands while then occasionally landing hits on the body, and I quite frankly didn't want to do it. So, Zen Mato. Yojimbo has an attack called Zen Mato, which in almost every case in this game will cause you to instantly win. I don't know why it works on every boss in the game. I don't know why they would make it that way, but they have. Now, the big thing is that you can actually force Zen Mato nearly 100% of the time. There's a chart online that details a method for, quote, leveling your compatibility with Yojimbo, unquote. Yojimbo in particular, his comes from how much you pay him certain amounts against certain enemies. And what ends up happening is whenever you get a skill like Wakizashi or Zen Mato, you increase his compatibility and reduce the amount of gil that you actually need, making it easier and easier to get Zen Mato. So just look up that chart online and level Yojimbo's Zen Mato compatibility until you can almost always get it on almost any enemy without even spending a whole lot of gil. Trust me, the amount of time saved from doing this will be monstrous. At that point, you can first strike with Yuna, throw out the Zen Mato, and you'll probably be okay. Now, all of that sounds like a lot of work. It's really grindy. I got to do all this sphere leveling. Oh man, that's going to take forever. But you know what takes longer than just getting enough stats to do the super bosses? Completing the entire sphere grid for every single character. And mind you, when I say completing the entire grid, I mean you need to fill in every blank space. You use a key sphere, makes a blank space, gotta fill it in. Any blank spaces you missed throughout the game, because of course you didn't have spheres to fill them in, gotta go back and fill them in, and you gotta do it on every single character. So you gotta level, you gotta get all these spheres on the monster arena, and then you gotta fill the whole thing in. This is a long endeavor. It could be, you can make it easier in some ways, harder in other ways, but I just have a few basic hints. The big one is, I highly recommend limiting the amount of fortune sphere grinding you do to as little as you need to beat penance, and on as few characters as possible. And then replace any extra luck spheres after you do this with something, who cares? Once you've beaten penance, it's completely irrelevant. Otherwise, you may need enough fortune spheres for all 7 characters to get like 200-ish luck. I don't remember what the luck minimum you need is off the top of my head, but it will drive you insane. Luck and fortune spheres are among the 2 worst things to farm in the monster arena by far. So you do not want to have to do those. So yeah, get ready to destroy those luck spheres after you beat everything. That's what I did at least. And then for actual levels, the Dawn Tonberry trick works really well. You can customize items with triple AP, triple overdrive, and then overdrive to EXP. There's actually some bosses in the game that can outright drop a lot of that stuff. So if you want to go try to farm them instead of making them, that's probably the better bet. But there are also, you know, enough bosses that you could farm them not too unreasonably. Then set your overdrive mode to Stoic or Comrade and just die to counterattacks from Dawn Tonberry repeatedly. If you have a party member that's not being hit for 99,999, I'd probably go Comrade, but if you do have one that is, they should probably be set to Stoic while their allies are set to Comrade. Auto Phoenix will get people back up, and once enough turns pass, you'll just kill Dom. Just like hit him for 99,999, accept the counterattack. Hit him again, accept the counterattack. And just do that until he's dead. And then collect the EXP and then move on, spend your sphere levels, whatever. But you're going to have to do this for 7 characters. You're going to have to do this. You have to move throughout the grid for 7 characters. And it's rough. It's rough. But hey, that's what I signed up for, right? And once you are done with that, you will be the proud owner of your Final Fantasy X Platinum. Honestly, the fact that there's no speed up is one of the reasons why this was one I was dreading. Yes, the sphere grid is annoying. Yes, you do have to do all the serious endgame stuff. And yes, there is Blitz Ball, Catcher Chocobo Race, and Lightning Dodges. But, I mean, I like Final Fantasy X a lot. And so for me, this honestly didn't feel as bad as I think it could have. But for some people, this is going to be a serious test. I mean, if Final Fantasy IX already wasn't a serious test at about, 45 to 50 hours to complete, this one will be, because you are probably looking at minimum 70 to 80 hours. I took just about 80 hours in order to get mine done. And, maybe others don't go as quick as I do. Like, I've played this game so many times, I just kind of roll through it every single time I do. In fact, I'm working on a no sphere grid challenge as I'm recording this video. So, like, you can clearly tell how much I like Final Fantasy X. But this was a major test, and I hate to say it, but it's only half the test. Final Fantasy X, fortunately, on PlayStation has its own distinct platinum, but it is the 10 and 10-2 HD remaster. So 10-2 also has a platinum. If you're on the Steam version, you actually need to platinum both of them to earn the overall platinum. So I'm just glad they're separated here. But I will say, I have platinumed Final Fantasy X-2 already. And we are making that video next. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that a lot right now. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more of the Platinum Challenge that I am doing. Just as an update on the back end, I finished all the mainline games as I'm recording these videos, as well as some of the off games. So I will be working on more of the off games, and yes, I will be working on the Final Fantasy Tactics Platinum when it comes around. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see all of you in the next one. And until then, take care.